Hi, guys. Welcome back. I'm sure you've heard the CEO of United Healthcare was taken out. There's a lot of speculation. Let's hear what people are talking about.
Okay, y'all, I can't stop. Hear me out. Hear me out. So now NYPD has like this phone, this water bottle. They're able to track this bike. What if this is like some next level shit that is above all of our pay grades and it's like a frame job and they're trying to frame somebody? Because I don't even think an amateur would leave behind all that. I mean, I'm not like, I feel like you would think about a water bottle. That's your DNA. So I'm interested to see what they're going to be saying soon because it feels like, I don't know, messy.
What are your guys' thoughts on it below? Let's move on.
What happened to the CEO of United Healthcare is tragic, sad, and shouldn't have happened. And
Right?
at the same time, the amount of people who get denied medications, procedures, surgeries, even though their doctor ordered it and say they need it, and get denied by their insurance company is also tragic, sad, and should not happen. Insurance companies should not be able to dictate what a patient gets and does not get. That is all.
Amen. I totally agree. If you have ever been denied for a claim and had to come out of pocket, let us know down below. I know some people are literally running out of insurance, and we'll be watching one of those videos here in a second. So stay strong.
Do you ever wonder where your health insurance premiums go? If I showed you the CEO's salary for some of the major health insurance companies, you might need a visit to the ER. But I'm going to do just that. Let's start with United Healthcare, as the highest paid CEO of all health insurance companies at $23.5 million a year.
Wow.
Now, if you're not familiar with United Healthcare, you might have seen them in the news recently. As a matter of fact, they've had a really hard time staying out of the news lately. In 2023, they were ordered to pay $91.2 million to clinicians that they underpaid between 2017 and 2018 after they had a deal/contract to pay them as in-network, which they did not do. They were also involved in the Change Healthcare security breach because they didn't have a two-factor verification security setup.
That's who sent me a letter. Change. And they talked about this. My identity and stuff apparently has been breached along with thousands of others or millions of others. Crazy.
And I recently saw some information about a case that's pending right now because they targeted senior citizens and overcharged them for Medicare replacement plans when there is a limitation on how much you can sell those plans for. Not to mention the lawsuit that involved the poorly executed algorithm that they know wasn't effective to deny terminally ill senior citizens for medically necessary care. I think it goes without saying, but I'm going to say it anyway, that not only is this outrageous to Americans that are paying insurance premiums that they can barely afford on a monthly basis, but also to the other employees at United Healthcare, because the pay ratio based on the CEO's salary and the median salary at United Healthcare of $66,000, that's a ratio of 1 to 352. So with United Healthcare admittingly underpaying clinicians and their own employees minus the CEO, where do you think your premiums are going?
So here's an interesting thing. If you were to liquidate that 23 million that the CEO made and give it to every employee in United Healthcare, it would only raise them all about 75 cents an hour. True story. It's crazy.
I just went out for a walk and I'm pretty sure I just saw the guy who clipped that CEO. I didn't call the cops because I can't get another eye exam for another 6 months under my insurance, so I couldn't see him well enough to be sure. But still, I'm like 60-40 that it was him.
That was a good one. I like that one.
This is just a PSA. I regret to inform everyone, you can find the proof on Reddit. The picture that's circulating of the suspect from the UHC CEO incident is not the actual suspect.
Ooh,
that is just a
interesting.
picture of a guy who was wearing similar clothing to the actual suspect that the police department released because they're incompetent.
See, what if it's not that? This guy was smart enough to go through Central Park, where I've heard there's just not that many cameras. So he did certain things good, certain things not so good. But here's what's interesting. What if he paid a handful of people to have that same, hoodie with a backpack look all around the city? You could really confuse things and slow people down just long enough for you to get to Canada or out of the country.
So immediately after I learned about the story, the headline,
CEO of United Healthcare harmed in Manhattan, I immediately went to their website, United Healthcare's, or at least I Googled to see who the heck that was. I'd never seen a picture of him before, never heard of him before. And Google gave me one of the first top results was their actual executive leadership page. And I clicked on it. And you know how it gives you a little preview and it said, see our executive leadership team or what have you. And I clicked on it and it redirected me to the main page of United Healthcare as if I were a client, as if I had an insured person. And so what you're saying makes a whole lot of sense. And it just adds to, again, I think we all watch too much true crime, because it can't be that easy, right? On the day of an investor conference, this should happen.
Oh, that's interesting. If you guys checked out United Healthcare's website and anything weird happened, maybe you could let us know down in the comments. I thought this one was interesting. Check this
The
out.
police have released new photos of the UHC CEO shooter, but a startling discrepancy has emerged. Initially, CCTV footage depicted the suspect carrying a light-colored backpack, while the latest images reveal him with a black backpack. This contradiction raises critical questions. Is it mistaken identity, or are there deeper layers to this case? The truth remains elusive, beckoning a closer investigation into the murky details.
I just noticed that in some of the videos, it looks like he has a green hoodie that looks kind of like sweatpant material. And then other times it looks like he's got almost like a windbreaker that's kind of black in color.
So as an employee of United Healthcare, yesterday was a bit of a roller coaster for me. I got the news in the morning, what happened to the CEO, and to be honest, I was pretty much just apathetic. I mean, I don't know this guy. Who here isn't numb to everyday tragedies at this point? But when the CEO of United Health Group put out a statement, I started feeling bad because that guy has a family and I have a daughter, and I hate thinking about her growing up without me. So then I started feeling really sad and frustrated with myself for not caring. And then the CEO just stopped talking and didn't bring up the fact that this is gun violence. And, granted, reasonable gun safety laws aren't going to fix assassinations, but it still was, in my opinion, the right time and the right place. And nothing was said. So then I was getting frustrated again. And then I found out that Primera has decided that they're not going to necessarily cover anesthesia for as long as it's needed. So then I kind of get it, because that is freaking evil. So that was my journey yesterday. This is a TikTok exclusive because I have like 42 followers here, and I don't know if I'm still going to be a United Healthcare employee after this.
Yeah, if it's based on my channel, you're safe. Guys, when the CEO got shot down, and this was on a video I saw on News Nation on the Chris Cuomo show, one of the things that I didn't notice the first day that I noticed the second was there was a lady that was kind of dressed up. And as the shooter is shooting this guy, she just kind of walks on by like, oh my God, what have I gotten myself into?
The situation with the United Healthcare CEO being murdered is really interesting because this totally happened in Saw 6, and I'm a huge Saw fan. His name was William Eason, and he was the CEO for Umbrella Health Company, and he actually directly denied John, who is Jigsaw, coverage for a cancer treatment in Norway. And William actually told John, like, hey, it's policy with your age and your life expectancy and the type of cancer you have. Like, we're not going to cover it. Throughout all his tests, he has to decide between people who more so deserves to live than another person. And so one of my favorite saw traps of all time is the shotgun carousel, and it involves him. So these are his little minions that work for him and are the ones that like answer the phone and approve or deny claims. And he has to go through every one of his employees, his direct employees, and has to decide who lives and who dies and why. So as soon as this information came out about the United Healthcare CEO, this was my immediate thought. Like, this has been foretold. The plot of Saw 6 is why I love it so much, because it's not just Jigsaw punishing people struggling with addiction or depression. It was a really reasonable villain in the movie. I like this quote that he says in the movie when he was like actually directly talking to William. And he said, we got it all, A backwards here. These politicians, they say the same thing over and over and over again. Healthcare decisions should be made by doctors and their patients, not by the government. Well, now I know they're not made by doctors and their patients or by the government. They're made by the effing insurance companies, which is, yeah, he's not wrong.
So what do you guys think of this? There's a little bit of truth to what she's saying, but I don't think it started with Jigsaw, and I'm sorry that she saw Saw Part 6. My goodness, Saw Part 2 or 3 was enough.
I don't understand why people are happy about his unaliving, bro. I don't understand it. Like, bro, I get it. Like, I understand health organizations have been very predatory and evil, and downright unfair to a lot of American citizens and everybody in between. But at the end of the day, that man had a family, bro. That man had a family, and I'm sure he worked really hard to get in the position he was at. You know what I mean? And just because the organization was bad don't mean everybody in leadership was bad, bro. And you got people like rejoicing over the fact that he was unalive. Like, obviously in a crazy way, bro. Like, bro, that's so wicked, bro. And I'm sure everyone would have reached a certain level of status and money and all that. You know what I mean? Just because you got it don't mean you evil. So what happened when you get, to your pinnacle? You know what I mean? Everybody call you evil and everybody rejoice over your demise. Come on, bro.
So today I was noticing as I was walking on the treadmill at my gym, I looked up at the TV, and one of the TVs, I think it was CNN, had said that his wife and him were estranged from one another. So for all I know, this could be a hit. I don't know if it is, but it looks like there's a couple different avenues this could take. If you guys think that it's the wife that it's involved.
So you know what's crazy? That the news media and the police that are speaking about that hitman that killed the CEO of United Healthcare, that they saying they can't rule out if he's a hitman or not. And like, to the average person, you could tell that was a hit. Like, no normal person would be that calm in.
And he didn't shoot the woman who was the witness right there. Again, a woman's literally right next to the guy. Some of the videos that people were seeing the first day were blurry, but if you saw the one on Chris Cuomo's show, it was literally not blurred out, and you could see a woman walking right by like, "Oh my God, what the heck am I in on?" So I think it was a hit.
Shooting somebody in broad daylight, and when the gun jams, know how to recoil it and make sure that you can unjam it and then shoot again.
He did seem really cold.
Just that part in itself, that takes nerves of steel to not even be preoccupied about what's going on around you.
Yes, well said.
Target, right? Then second, the guy had an escape route, right? He got on a bike in New York City because if he was running, he would draw attention to himself. You get on a bike where everybody else and their mother is riding a bike in New York City. So now he's on a bike, which he blends in. Then he had a knapsack, which more than likely he had a change of clothing, right?
Oh,
then he goes
point.
to Central Park, where he knows there's not that many cameras, right? In Central Park,
Very
inside
smart.
that big area, there's really no cameras. So now he ditches the bike, goes into Central Park where there's no freaking cameras, changes his clothes, because I'm more than sure he had a change of clothing in that knapsack, and then discards the gun and the clothing. He probably left the gun behind. Then he leaves his phone behind. Do you think he left his phone behind by mistake? No. He left it behind on purpose, so when the cops look at it, they'll think whatever they're looking at is information which is being pointed to someone else. Like,
I'm telling you, there's something crazy about this story. And then today I heard that he had a couple words that he put on the bullet casings. Did you hear about this? There were certain words on it that were affiliated with some book that talked about how insurance companies get one over on us, the people. Speak of the devil.
Who unalived the United Healthcare CEO wrote on the bullets, "Deny, defend, depose." people want to know what that means, and it means something very specific within a legal context because it refers to strategies that insurance industry players will use to essentially avoid accountability. But because they were written on bullets, it actually sends a message, a very clear message, and it starts to sound like a revolutionary battle cry. Now, I am not a lawyer. I am doing this for entertainment purposes only. I'm an internet idiot. Don't take advice from me. So within a legal context, deny is to deny claims or allegations. To defend is to defend against claims, often through legal means. And to depose is to obtain testimony, sworn testimony, typically in pretrial discovery. I don't necessarily support the unaliving of people, okay, so don't get me wrong, but what that person did was an act of rebellion. And that's why, like, a lot of people are seeing these words deny, defend, depose, and they're like, it sounds like a slogan. It sounds like a war cry or something. And it is. It is. Here's the double meaning of that. To deny is to deny the corrupt authorities and institutions in this country. To defend is to defend against them, to defend our communities, our rights, our freedoms. And to depose is to dismantle these corrupt systems and replace them with something equitable. What's also really interesting about this, just looking at the events of the past 24 hours, if you're on UFO Talk at all, you know that there was all of this talk about how there was going to be a great battle in the sky between fighter jets and UFOs on December 3rd for reasons we won't get into, outside the scope of this video. But that didn't happen. What did happen is the French government collapsed because people are fed up. And South Korea tried to impose martial law, and people revolted, so it lasted for like 3 hours. This has all happened within the past 48 hours, and there's something a brewing in the world right now, and it is collective, and it is big, and 2025 is going to be a ride.
And we got to make sure you get there, so go get your shoes. Let's go for a walk. Good morning, Venters. I hope you guys are having a wonderful start to your weekend. I know that you're watching this on Friday, but Friday's the start of the weekend, right? Football games this Saturday, guys, a bunch of college football championships of the different conferences and stuff. I urge you to watch the ASU Sun Devil game. It's supposed to be on, I believe, at 10 a.m. Mountain Time. I don't know what time it's supposed to be on, but it's one of the earlier morning games. I urge you guys to watch it. We've got a really fun team. And if you don't like football, then pretend like I didn't say that. Guys, I heard right now that I guess there was a 7.0 earthquake off of the coast of California in the Eureka, California area. And they were talking about a tsunami warning. Man, whenever you see giant waves coming in, like we did back in the, like, what was that tsunami they had like 15 years ago in Malaysia or something, where they just show the water and it just keeps on coming? You know, a lot of times you think of a tsunami as this giant, 50-foot building or, 50-story building of water, but usually it doesn't look like that. Instead, it's just like endless water coming in. When they had that tsunami that happened in Japan by the Fukushima nuclear plant, that was really creepy, because I remember they would show cars driving on the streets, and then remember they would just show the ocean like coming into the land, and it was like the freakiest, scariest, fastest thing ever, and it just looks like absolute carnage. But apparently I haven't heard too much stuff about the tsunami coming in, so it must not have been that bad. So let's talk about one of the real fun reasons that I like to walk. To get rid of stress. Today I had an absolute great day of work, but it was capped off with about 45 minutes of straight stress that almost made it where it was like the whole day was crappy just because of that. So I had this situation where I spoke to a lady about a role that was challenging. I told her about all the challenges involved with this particular school And she said, Jesse, I'm up to the challenge. I give you permission to submit me to the school for an interview. Let's move forward. Let's do this. And then I started asking her about her windows of opportunity, or her windows of time that she had where I could let the school know she was available for like a Zoom interview. And she proceeded to tell me that she was basically available every day for the next week or two. And she was even available today. And mind you, this was earlier today at like 10 o'clock in the morning. So I sent her information off to the school and stuff. And to let them know a little bit about how motivated she was, I even put in there, hey, she's available for an interview today if you guys wanted to do an interview today. But mind you, that was 10 in the morning. That was literally, 6 hours ago, right? Going on 7. Well, anyway, long story short, all of a sudden my phone rings about an hour or so ago. And our partnership manager calls and says, hey, did you see the email I sent you? And of course, I hadn't checked the email just yet, but apparently about 20 minutes earlier, she sent me an email stating, hey, the school would like to interview her at the top of the hour here for about 15 or 20 minutes. And the person that was going to do the interviewing is a very kind, very nice woman, and she basically just wanted to make sure that she was on the same page with the demands and challenges of this school. So it was going to be a very nice, laid back, almost more of a meet and greet rather than an actual interview, right? Anyway, I reach out to the candidate, but I didn't reach out to her right when the email came because I saw it 20 minutes late. And all of a sudden I'm reaching out to the candidate trying to get her on a Zoom call in 5 minutes for an interview. It was akin to when the teacher would surprise you with a pop quiz. You remember how crappy it was when the teachers would give you a pop quiz out of nowhere? Well, all of a sudden, this woman's enjoying her evening because she's a couple hours ahead of us. And next thing you know, I'm calling her, trying to get her to do a Zoom interview, not in a couple of hours, but in 5 minutes. Anyway, make a long story short, she ends up saying, well, can you give me a little bit closer to 45 minutes, yada, yada. So I'm going back and forth with the PM at this time, and I'm like, maybe we should just do this at 11 a.m. in the morning. Otherwise, she needs 45 minutes. My PM comes back with, well, you said she was available today. And anyway, long story short, in the course of about 5 minutes, I went from a nice, peaceful, tranquil day to all of a sudden I'm blowing up this candidate's phone, calling her, trying to get her to pick up. And you know how some people are. Once it's 5, 6 in the afternoon, people are kind of mentally checked out, and they don't necessarily want to be talking on the phone with anybody. So all of a sudden, I'm trying to have this half text, half phone call conversation with this candidate, and my PM's like, I thought this candidate was motivated. Anyway, imagine you have a tough, challenging school, and all of a sudden you're blowing up someone's phone. I don't know about you, but it just kind of looks like you're desperate. Like, oh my God, this guy is blowing up my phone. So she literally stopped responding to me. Now, why do I mention this? It's not some horrible thing. It's not like it's never happened. But sometimes you could be having the most chilled, relaxed, laid back, successful day, and then something can just kind of become your tsunami or earthquake out of nowhere. How do you deal with those bleeps in the system, those little peaks and valleys throughout the day? Well, guys, myself, I like tackling them with a walk. I've gone through a lot of stressful times in my life. One of the worst times I had when I was recovering from surgery was that when I had a bad day, I couldn't just get up and start walking and take a walk. But now I can. And my stressful situation, you might look at your stressful situation and say, Jesse, I deal with a lot more stress than that, right? Because maybe my situation doesn't even sound like that big of a deal to you. Every person's different, right? But either way, whatever you're dealing with that might stress you out on any given day, I would recommend you take care of that by literally taking a walk. Because even now, as I'm walking and talking with you guys are kind of like my shrink on the couch. You're listening to my problems, and I'm able to get them out. I think part of the reason people are unhealthy when they get on the other side of 50 is because we're so used to bottling up our emotions. We don't necessarily have someone we could talk to about it, so those bad negative feelings end up kind of stewing within us. You know what I mean? If you know what I mean by letting things just stew and fester within you, let me know down in the comments, because I want to know that I'm not the only one that has had those emotions go through me in the past. The difference now is that I can kind of keep things in perspective. If this woman ends up flaking on me forever because I came across as desperate, well, that's a learning experience. Either way, it's not going to really create that huge of a deal in my life. But sometimes when we're younger, we can look at those situations and say, oh my goodness, I'm going to lose $1,000 on this. I'm going to lose $800. Oh, woe is me, it's the end of the world. If your life is predicated on $1,000 one way or another, you need to work on your life. You need to get things in perspective. See, when we're young, we attach so much importance to money. That's why a lot of times you see that people are literally killing other people over $15 or $20. There's nothing to get worked up for. Money comes and goes in this life. If you want to do better with your money, take a walk and make a plan. One of the things that I decided to do a couple years back was get control of my bills, because there was a time in my life where if I didn't get a $6 or an $8 or a $900 commission, it meant me struggling for that month. We've all been in those type of situations. But once you have your bills under control, now things are different. There's no need to stress about those things. So if you find yourself and your blood pressure is raising and you're getting all clenched up because something didn't go your way, just remember, take a deep breath, take a walk. More than likely, you're gonna be okay. This too shall pass. So anyway, that's one of those things that my walk has really helped me with. If this would have happened to me maybe, 12, 13, 14 years ago, it would have just stressed me out all to heck. And even when I started my channel, I told you guys, my job's really stressful. Well, the difference is now I'm able to walk. The last time I said that, I was coming off of my surgery and it was just a real miserable time for me. But now I got you guys to vent to. So again, I love that walking can keep us in good shape. It can help you lose weight. It can help you be a lot healthier than you would be otherwise. But one of the big perks is that it can take a bad hour or a bad day and you can kind of come down to reality. The world is not ending. There might be an earthquake in the ocean and there might be a tsunami off the coast of California, but that doesn't mean we have to act like there's a tsunami in our lives. There are so many people out there, myself included, when I was younger, where these things would ruin the day. Let's not let those things ruin our day anymore, guys. I mean, if you're in your 40s, your 50s, or your 60s, or even in your mid-30s, you've gone through quite a bit of positive and negative experiences in your life. That's why you need to walk, because sometimes we get a little too excited for the positive things, and then we end up finding out that maybe it wasn't worth getting all that hyped up about. And then we get a little too down when we're dealing with the negative BS of life. And sometimes you have to look back and say, you know what? I stressed out so much, but I don't even know if it was that big of a deal in the grand scheme of things. If you think about it, you've probably gone through, I don't know, I'm just guessing, a couple hundred crises in your life. You've probably gone through 200 or 300 disappointments in your life. And when you're going through them on that particular day or that particular hour, they might really rule your world. But in the grand scheme, looking back on them, they weren't really that big of a deal. If this person's gonna ditch out on me because I blew up her phone, more power to her. In the future, there would have been a time where I needed to reach her and she wasn't gonna answer. So why not get that heartache now? Maybe it wasn't meant to be. Maybe it's a learning experience, and you can look at the same thing in your situation. You lent your brother-in-law a bunch of money. Hey, John, Where's my money, damn it? You're not getting it, Gloria. John, you better give me my money. It's my money, Gloria. Right? We all have moments like that. If John owes you $300 and he has never paid you and now he denies ever owing it to you, just know we've all had to deal with that John before. Every single person, believe it or not, including John. So just remember, the best way to live your life is be that person that lends money and doesn't expect it back. That way when John screws you, he's not really screwing you at all, right? And in the future, when people like John pay you back that money, you'll know, hey, going forward, that's somebody that I can trust with a small loan. We have these learning experiences. The question is, do we learn from them? One of the things that I do when it comes to lending people money is it's almost a 90% chance I'm going to say no, because I'm going to examine who's asking. If it's a family member that has a job and has a plan to pay me back, that might be somebody I lend money to. But I'm not going to lend them a loan size money, a loan size loan, you know, where it's like, hey, here's $10,000. Heck no, here's $60. Let's see if you can handle that, and then in the future maybe I can lend you $100. But if they need something more than that, they can go to the bank. There's a reason we have credit scores. Amen? Amen. If you have bad credit, why would I want to be your next lender? No, thank you. And remember, when people borrow money from you, most of them don't say, I'm going to pay it back with interest. So you're already losing by lending money to people, right? So in that case, what you do is give them money. If somebody needs $50, don't tell them no. Just let them have $50. If they start asking multiple times, get another friend. They're not fun to hang out with anymore, right? But don't lend your friends money. What you're asking for is for them to let you down, and then you end up losing the money and the friendship, and future people, you end up hurting their feelings because you end up saying no. So that's just where I'm coming from on that. If you guys have gone through stressful situations over the last year and maybe your walk has helped you, maybe share, maybe let us know how that went. I just love that when I walk, especially this time of year, the breeze feels so wonderful. The shade feels 5 or 10 degrees cooler than when you're in the pathway of the sun. And we just had a summer where it was 110 to 115 degrees a day. So now that it's 80 degrees each day, even though that's a little warm for the winter, it sure does beat 115, doesn't it? And then yesterday we heard about the guy that was lost in -4-degree temperatures. Hey, at least I'm not freezing my gourd off, right? Feels good out here, and I hope that wherever you're walking at, I hope it feels good for you too. By the way, did you guys see that video that they showed of the CEO of United Healthcare getting gunned down? And it was so crazy because no one really talked about it, but they showed the guy shoot the man, and literally off to the side there was a woman just standing there against the wall, and she ends up walking away. And that's where I think they came up with the idea that this was obviously a planned hit, because when you literally just ignore an eyewitness as they walk on by and you keep trying to shoot, your intended victim, it looked really weird. That lady is really lucky to be alive. And I don't know if the FBI is trying to reach out to that lady and talk to her, but it was really crazy because all the news that I was watching literally kept showing her walking away, yet nobody in the news talked about it. I'm like, is anyone going to mention the elephant in the room? That's quite a story that she can share with people for the rest of her life. It's funny because they were asking his wife, and I guess his wife said that he had been receiving, threatening texts and threatening messages. But I know that every time I watch Dateline, the wife is always the first suspect. Wouldn't that be crazy if this ends up being a situation where the wife put the guy up to shooting her husband? And I'm not saying that's what it is. I'm guessing it's probably not. But literally every time I watch Dateline or 2020 or any type of, show on that ID channel, it's almost always the spouse. Which I never understand, because they're always doing it over money. And it's like, if you have that much money, then I think you can survive happily on half, right? I would rather have half the money and not go into prison for shooting my spouse, taking his or her life, right? But apparently these people, they always want everything, including the kids. And I don't know about you, but I wouldn't want to live with a parent that I knew shot it and took out my other parent. Jesse, what are you getting at? This woman didn't do anything. I know, so check this out. They were showing pictures of that masked man that did the shooting. They were showing him today. Somebody caught him inside of another building. I don't know if it was a bank or what, but they caught him with his thing down, his mask down, and they were able to see his face. And here's the thing I thought. I don't think that's him. I know it's supposed to look like him. I know they're supposedly dressed the same, but that seems like a situation where you could easily pay somebody just to go in the bank with their face showing. I really have a feeling that that's not the same person. Think about it. This guy knew to get on his bike and to pedal into Central Park. And apparently in Central Park, where everywhere else in the city there's a million cameras, apparently there's some dark sections of the park where there's not that many cameras. So apparently he made this clean getaway some way, somehow, even though there were witnesses everywhere. And oh, by the way, now there's this picture of him from earlier in that day. But it's weird because in one picture, his hoodie looks like it's made of fabric, like a really soft, like almost like a sweatshirt type material, right? Like like sweatpants type material. And then on another picture, it looks to be the same guy, but all of a sudden, the material looks almost like windbreaker material, where it's not soft at all, it's more of like a shiny. And I don't know if anybody else noticed that. I could be completely wrong. But even when they're showing the color of the coat itself and the guy's backpack, in one situation, the coat looks kind of black and the backpack looks kind of beige. And then in another one, the coat looks army green, and I swear the backpack looks like a different color altogether. Could that just be the lighting and the shadows? Yes. Is it more than likely that? Yeah, sure. But why wouldn't this guy literally just pay a homeless guy that somewhat looks like him, hey, here's $100. All you have to do is go in the bank there and start a conversation with that girl. That girl's my friend. It's just a practical joke. I have a feeling we're going to end up finding out that this guy used a body double. And by the way, if you're ever thinking about doing this in the future, why not pay a bunch of people to dress up just like you and to be seen in different parts of the city to confuse everybody? If you think about what I'm telling you guys, it's a fantastic idea. Here's $50. All you have to do is go about your day and make sure you go into a couple buildings along the way. That's it. You know as well as I do, there'd be a bunch of people totally willing to do that. So now all of a sudden you guys are like, oh my God, Jesse, you're right. I pulled up the different pictures, and you can do it right here on YouTube. Pick up a couple of the different pictures from the different videos. They show him at different stages of the game. Look at the one where supposedly he's in a bank with his bandana down, or whatever he had covering his face. You're telling me there's not a million looking white guys that look just like that? I think it would be really easy to pay somebody that looks like you to just go hang out. Meanwhile, there's probably countless cameras that are going to catch that guy hanging out. And for all we know, that guy could be thinking it's his lucky day because somebody gave him $100 just to wear this new hoodie and this new backpack. And by the way, you get to keep the hoodie and the backpack too. Now, am I right? Probably not. I only saw it for a minute. I know there's shadows involved, and one of the scenes is lit up where another is dark. But tell me that in the dark, that jacket looks black, well, whereas in the light, it looks kind of like an army green. Tell me that they literally look like two different colored coats, depending on, you know, in the shadows or in the light. Keep walking, pray about these things. If you have anything that you'd like to share, please do. And if you don't mind, if this is your first time listening, think about subscribing and hitting the thumbs up button for me. It helps me push my video out with the YouTube algorithm. And with that being said, I wish you a happy weekend. I'll see you tomorrow.